Thank you. I really appreciate you turning over the mic to me. I generally speaking teach on Wednesday nights. That was my dog's muzzle. You'll hear a little more about him later. So I'm not able to join you. The last time I joined you, I wrote about smoking weed and the issues that presents for a mother of kids in their teens. That was a long time ago. So now that I hear you have 2 different nights for reading, or is it all on Wednesday? Might all be on Wednesday.
They'll be on the second Wednesday and the fourth Wednesday, 2-4.
I'm going to have to let my group do a little bit of work on their own. They're doing work tonight. I normally lead a creative group. So my bio tells you about everything, personality, character. All right, I'm leaving this room. Tone, interest, attitude, everything, my beliefs, and kind of the speed at which I work. I am sorry to be walking, but we'll just keep going. There's so many reasons why I wanted to talk tonight, but mostly it was because I came across a process that I found really interesting. And I think that sometimes writing is a really hard job, and that let's just say there's so many ways to start a piece of writing, so many ways to write. And sometimes I just think we get incredibly blocked. I can just have too many ideas. Okay, there we go. We're settled now. And those too many ideas interfere with the process of actually starting to write. So when I came across this at the beginning of COVID, I thought, wow, this is interesting. Let's see if it works. So the process was not to just write. I do write morning pages, which I'll explain later. Just that Natalie Goldberg, Julia Cameron, just get it all out. And then I try to work on a couple of different things. I work usually on an essay or 2. So right now I'm writing one on being Jewish, and I'm working on this Journal of Solitude. So if one gets stale, the other is usually available to be messed with. I tend to destroy my own writing if I don't have 2, if I can't put one to bed and pull the other out. If I only have one, I will kill that writing, because I am, I started an MFA program. I was only in it 1 semester before I realized it would kill my writing. But the person that I was working with was a journalist, and I write creative nonfiction and essays, and those are 2 totally different tones. And basically, he cut down every sentence I wrote to about 1 or 2 words. And so I lost all of the texture, all of the flavor, but I also lost myself, and I lost the confidence in my writing, which circles back to how do we write in such a way that is helpful, uplifting, supportive. There's too many times where I have been in a place of just despair over my writing. Just, oh my God, I can't write. It's awful. Put that sucker aside and, go on to doing something else. And all of a sudden I'll go back to that other piece and I'll like, well, it's not all shit. There's actually these 2 good pieces, or it's not all shit. Actually, it's pretty decent, or, some combination of the 2. And over the last couple of years, I've been reading a lot about flow state, and flow state is something that can be described as the samadhi state in yoga, or the Gevura state in traditional Judaism, where you are connected so deeply with the essence of your belief that you are you're fueling yourself. In yoga terms, you're erasing negative karma, or you're neutralizing it, not erasing it. You're neutralizing negative karma. And I think in Judaism, you're clearing your head of the things that will cause you to go astray. So Judaism is very concerned with actions, and yoga is concerned with the mind. You can think pretty much whatever you want in Judaism. If you do not do it, you're in pretty good shape. But in yoga, we say whatever the head and the ego are doing, that's where our actions come out of. So I have, over a lifetime, grew up in an Orthodox community in a traditional home, went to seminary at 19 in Israel, basically came home with many questions, and by 23 had been married and divorced to an Orthodox man, and had been and started pursuing Buddhism, but that wasn't quite right. And at 27, 28, I had a back injury, and I started doing yoga. So the physical postures of yoga, just that one slice. And then over the years, I started studying yoga philosophy, the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, with a woman that I met in California, who is the student of Mr. Desikachar, who just recently died. And I was very fortunate to be able to study with a teacher who came from a lineage. And she had spent many years in and out of India studying with her teacher. And all that was required of me was a passable knowledge of Sanskrit. And I already have a passable knowledge of biblical Hebrew. So I'm like, oh, one dead language, why not two? And I was on this journey, and the pieces just, they keep intertwining. So I think that's all I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to start writing. I'll start reading from what I've written, and then you can tell me if you have any questions or concerns. I'm going to look at my watch. Okay, do I have 10 more minutes? That's what it's feeling like to stay on time for you.
Well, I wasn't keeping track, but I would say you have at least 10 minutes, if not 15.
Okay, I want to stay within your parameters. Okay, watch this. Set alarm for 12 minutes. Okay, so now we have a timekeeper.
Alarm is set for 7:29 p.m.
She likes to talk. My writing and my life can be expressed in a single sentence. I want to live an examined life, and from this basic exercise, act in accordance. I have been granted a life of comfort, a body sturdy enough for writing, a mind disciplined enough, and a heart open enough to pursue the truth. In August, days before my 60th birthday, while dusting my bookshelves, I stopped at May Sarton's A Journal of a Solitude. I opened it and read the inscription an old friend had written. My sister says I'm getting exotic, better than weird. Hope you enjoy. Love, Jane. It was a Christmas gift in 1990. I remember reading the book for the first time in the early 80s, and again when Jane gave it to me in the 90s. I couldn't quite get my mind fully around it, but I felt that something important was being said and that it was being directed to me. Not that I think she was just directing it at me, but it was like, I felt this was a message for me. I found the copy and was just sort of, kind of looking at it as I'm dusting through the shelves. And I thought, what can I learn from May Sarton, who's a novelist, a memoirist, a poet, and a nonfiction writer, who had been so important to me at an earlier time that I'd saved her books for 30 years, when a lot of other books had been thrown away. I had a vague memory that it turned out to be wrong, that Sarton wrote what I'll call Solitude during her 60th year. But it turns out that she wrote it when she was 58 and published it in 1973 when I was 12. I got the idea, and that's also the year of Roe v. Wade. I got the idea that I would write a journal of a year just standing there looking out the window. And I thought, why not write a journal the year that I turned 60? It's the third year of COVID. It's the years of Trump. It's the year after the insurrection. It's the year that I both look forward to and fear. Can things possibly get worse? Possibly yes, but just maybe things can be turned around. And it's for this reason that I started this journal. I dedicate this journal to the large circle of women around me. I have never really thanked them. They came when I needed them, when I was a young kid, when I was a teenager, when I was a young adult, when I was a new writer, when I hit middle age and had young kids. I was 37 and 41. What was I thinking? When my kids started leaving home, and now as I dig into the psycho-spiritual aspects of my life, when I have more space, when I have more time. The journal is written in response to Sarton's journal, but you will see not exactly. I'm using her journal structure, which I don't think is her exact journal, but ideas refined from her journal. Who writes despairly in a journal? Not me. In Julia Cameron's seminal work, The Artist's Way, she writes about the importance of morning pages. Messy, messy writing, written each morning before starting the day. Uncensored writing that helps to clear the blockages. She calls for 3 pages each morning written in longhand. I write what my friend Julie has named daily pages. My schedule is not about getting up early in the morning. It is about going to bed late at night to have time to write in deep quiet. I basically have set up my yoga teaching in the morning at 9 and 10 o'clock to make sure that I do get up, but it's barely that I'm up. So I write these unruly, woolly pages, rants, politics, and delights in 15 minutes with a timer. I write in the tradition of Natalie Goldberg, writing down the bones. I write in the tradition of my writing teacher, Priscilla Long, author of Minding the Muse and the Writer's Portable Mentor, a guide to art, craft, and writing life. Pages very quickly, too quickly. I have learned to write with abbreviation to keep up with the flood of thoughts. I rarely end up writing, I do not know what to write, as Cameron and Goldberg recommend if you do not know what to write. If the hand fails and falls behind my mind, I end up making lists and sometimes doodles. Single words that hold the meaning of sentences that I can go back to and fill in later. I have an ongoing struggle, like most people, between my head and my heart, my ego and my truth. For years, my writing was attached to my ego. What will this sound like? What will people think? Will they like it? Will they read it? Will they compliment me and not mean it? On September 15th, so this is the first actual section, so moving from the intro to the first section. On September 15th, Sarton writes from her rural house in New Hampshire. I am here alone for the first time in weeks to take up my real life again at last. That's what is strange. The friends, even passionate love, are not my real life unless there is time alone which to explore and to discover what is happening or has happened. I taste it fully only when I am alone here in the house and I resume old conversations. When I asked to receive a mantra from a Hindu guru, Amritananda Mai, I was given the Sanskrit mantra of Satyam, truth. At the same time, I decided to also take the Hebrew word emet, which means truth, as a second mantra. Emmett reminds me of Emmett Till from Chicago, who died in Money, Mississippi at age 14 while visiting family. Accused of being disrespectful to a white woman, he was the victim of vicious hatred. The woman's husband and his half-brother beat, mutilated, and shot Till and threw his body into the Tallahatchie River. How is it that I was an adult before I had heard about Emmett Till? Was there too much noise? Was the truth hidden? Was there a great lie that smothered the truth? If I were an adult in the 60s instead of the late 70s when I turned 18, would I have known about Emmett Till? I occasionally hear people say, I marched in Selma. Well, I didn't march in Selma. I was too young, too removed, and possibly too afraid. I am standing up now to be counted, but to hear the truth, I find that I need deep quiet. Quiet is a luxury, space is a luxury, time to think is a luxury. I have run out of excuses. I listen to solitude on my daily walks with my dog, Junie, who is a pain in the ass, a relentless golden retriever who thinks everything should always be fun. Every squirrel, bird, scrap of food calls him. He is hopeless at controlling himself. I watch him and am reminded of myself. Each day, I find one thought from the section I am reading in solitude, and as I walk, I try to let it expand. I take notes on my hands, I make voice memos, I talk to myself. At all costs, I do not catch the glance of a passerby. I am in my space, I am thinking, I am going towards my truth. So the explanation, the intro, and then the first section of it, and the process. So thank you, and just thank you.